Hey everybody, welcome to Monster Monday pre-show. I am DM Galabond. Tonight we're going to be looking at trolls. And wouldn't you know it, there's a lot more to trolls than you might think in the lore of D&D. As usual, music tonight is from Pipe Dream Hits. Go over to pipedreamhits.com. You will find all of their music over there. And you can find them on all of the major streaming platforms. Pipe Dream Hits is music by streamers for streamers. If you use Pipe Dream Hits music in your TikTok videos, your Instagram reels, your YouTube videos, your live streams on YouTube or Twitch or any of the other platforms, you will not get any copyright strikes because Pipe Dream Hits was made for you to use in your original content. Alright, also, please, as always, go check out Mo over the Tabletop Bellhop. Mo is the OG when it comes to all things tabletop games, card games, board games, party games, tabletop RPGs, you name it, he's got it over there. Industry news, reviews, upcoming games, deep dives onto rules questions, and edition updates. Also an entire galaxy of people making content about tabletop games. By people, or yeah. He is over there, Tabletop Bellhop, and then they have a nice podcast that they do every week. And they also have links to an entire galaxy of people that are creating content about tabletop games in all of their forms, including tabletop RPGs like Dungeons & Dragons. I'm going to go ahead and mute the mic a little bit until we get ready to start. Hello, viewers. Welcome to the chat. Hope you're doing well this evening. Hope you are ready to hear all about the history of trolls in D&D. We can't talk about the history of trolls on the internet because that would just take too darn long. Alright, we're going to go ahead and bring the music down just a little bit. I'll keep the music in the background, but make it not quite compete so much. And welcome everybody to Monster Monday for Labor Day, September 6th, 2021. Hope you guys, if you've had the day off, if you're here in the U.S., hope you had a wonderful Labor Day. If you had to work, I hope at least you got overtime, time and a half, holiday pay. That'd be good. If you're not in the U.S., well, this is one of those odd holidays that we throw on the calendar. And, yeah. We Americans take fewer holidays than everybody else, but the ones we do take, we like to celebrate it with tons of sports. And I like to celebrate any Monday holiday with an episode of Monster Monday, talking about the history of a certain monster in D&D. And tonight's monster that we are going to be looking at is trolls. Trolls, you say? Trolls? Aren't trolls just kind of boring monsters that regenerate? Oh, you might think that. But trolls have an incredible history in D&D, and when you start parsing and separating and digging and searching, you can find a lot of different variations throughout all the editions of D&D that can give you, as a DM, a bunch of different ways to delight, challenge, frustrate, annoy, and hopefully entertain your players. All right, so let us go ahead and take a look. As we always do, we're going to start by looking at the description of trolls, and we always begin with the oldest description we can find in D&D and move forward. This right here is a depiction of a troll from the 2nd edition Monstrous Manual. So there's kind of hunched over, long nose, long legs, just very thin and tall and everything. So back in Basic D&D, trolls are 8-foot tall, thin, somewhat intelligent humanoids with ferocious features, sharp teeth, and a mottled skin that's almost like rubber. And then from 1st edition, or AD&D, we learned that troll hide is a nauseating moss green, mottled green and gray, or putrid gray. The writhing hair-like growth on a troll's head is a greenish black or iron gray. The eyes of a troll are dull black. And then from 2nd edition D&D, we learn that a troll's frame appears thin and frail, but trolls possess surprising strength. Their arms and legs are long and ungainly. The legs end in great 3-toed feet, the arms in wide, powerful hands with sharpened claws. The troll's rubbery hide is colored a moss green, mottled green and gray, or putrid gray. A writhing hair-like mass grows out of their skulls and is usually greenish-black or iron gray in color. So, and that's the 2nd edition description. So we have very consistent descriptions for trolls throughout D&D, although the artwork, as you'll see as we go through tonight, the artwork is very different from edition to edition. And here is the artwork that we have for the troll in 5th edition. So we look at troll descriptions from the earliest edition to the latest edition. We look at the lore of trolls starting with the current edition and working backwards. So troll lore. What do we learn about troll lore? Well, in 5th edition we learn that there's such a thing as troll freaks. Their regenerative capabilities make trolls especially susceptible to mutation. Although uncommon, such transformations can result from what the troll has done or what has been done to it. A decapitated troll might grow 2 heads from the stump of its neck, while a troll that eats a fey creature might gain 1 or more of that creature's traits. Now that's a little hint, because we talked about troll variants. Ho, 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 ho. The people at Wizards of the Coast have been working overtime to give us all kinds of troll variants. And before them, the people at TSR gave us tons as well. So now in 4th edition, we learned about something called fell trolls. Fell trolls are voracious carnivores that delight in gorging on humanoid prey. 1 or 2 such creatures can easily wipe out an entire village and devour all of its inhabitants in a single night. So, yeah, trolls, they're nasty creatures. And they like to eat intelligent beings. Sadly, for the trolls, it usually doesn't make them any smarter. But it just does scare the bejesus out of everybody who lives in an area where there might be a troll. And from 3rd edition, we learn about trolls. They have ravenous appetites, devouring everything from grubs to bears and humanoids. They often lair near settlements and hunt for the inhabitants until they devour every last one. All right, so again, we get the idea. They're voracious, carnivorous, prey on anything they can get their grubby paws on, claws on, and they just don't stop eating until they have eaten up everything in sight. All right, now we all know that in D&D, creatures have a creature type, and in 5th edition, the creature type for trolls is giant. Now here's a depiction of 2 of the types of trolls we will see in 4th edition. Top to bottom, there's the Bladerager Troll and the Troll Vinespeaker near the bottom. Wonder what those guys are like. All right, so all creatures that are part of a type in D&D 5th edition have general characteristics that are similar. Properties of giants: they tower over humans and their kind. They're human-like in shape, though some have multiple heads like Ettins or deformities like Fomorians. 6 varieties of true giants are hill giants, stone giants, frost giants, fire giants, cloud giants, and storm giants. But besides these, creatures such as ogres and trolls are also considered giants. And so they're not quite as tall as true giants, but they're definitely taller than all of the other humanoids, including giant-kin humanoids such as Goliaths and furbolgs. All right, so now we're going to get into the mechanical features of trolls, and this is one of everybody's favorite segments of the show, where we go and we look at trolls from back in the day, starting all the way with Basic D&D. Now, the first place we find a listing for trolls in the Rules Cyclopedia, which is sort of the catch-all monster manual, DM guide, and player's handbook from Basic D&D, is under an entry called Gargantua. And in the earliest edition of the game, there was a mad wizard named Gargantua, and any monsters that are Gargantua monsters are extremely rare, and they're products of experiments by this particular wizard. So we do see there's an example of a Gargantua troll. Armor class is 4, which is the same as any normal troll, but the hit dice, 51 hit dice. That's a lot of hit dice for a monster. And consider that back in the day, most dragons had like 20 or 30 hit dice. Something that has 51 hit dice is just absolutely huge. Has 3 attacks, 4d6 for each claw, and 4d10 for the bite. Saves as a 36 level fighter, so its saving throws are extremely good. But the intelligence, only 6 intelligence, and that that easily, a Gargantuan Troll could easily wipe out most mid-level parties all by itself. But one of the coolest things about the Gargantua entry here is that we get a formula, basically, for how you can take a normal monster and make it a Gargantua monster. Why is this important? Why am I showing this to you? It's because if you think about making the changing up a monster in 5th edition, and you want to say, you know what, I want to make a Gargantuan version of something. Here's one idea, one way you could do that. So you take the normal height and you double it. So it's twice the normal height. You take the normal number of hit dice and you multiply the hit dice by 8. And that's how you figure out how many hit points it has. The movement rate is doubled. The damage it deals with every attack is 4 times the number of damage. Usually, number appearing is going to be 1. Save as, okay, the save as number, that's a little bit different because back in the day, they equated the saving throws for whatever an adventuring class would be at a certain level. So that's really not as applicable. Morale, we don't really use that anymore. And then treasure type, 4 times normal size at 2 times normal percentages. All right, and that's about it. So that's the Gargantuan Troll. Now, also in this, we see another monster that, well, this is a really, really cool and scary monster that you might want to think about throwing out for a party that just gets, you know, maybe they don't pay as much attention as you think that they should. And this would be a Thoul. A Thoul is not an undead creature, but it's a magical combination of a ghoul, a hobgoblin, and a troll. So it has the paralyzing touch of a ghoul. It has the intelligence of a hobgoblin, which hobgoblins are the smartest, most devious, most clever versions of the goblinoid family. And they have the regenerating power of a troll. So, except when you're very close, Thouls look exactly like hobgoblins and sometimes found as part of a bodyguard of a hobgoblin king or chaotic ruler. The touch of the Thoul will paralyze just like a ghoul, and if it's damaged, it will regenerate, but not quite at the same rate as a troll. So, now once again, idea, something you can homebrew and bring into 5th edition if you want to throw a different, unique, and interesting monster at your players. And then we finally get the garden variety troll in 5th edition. So, or in basic D&D. So armor class is 4, hit dice 6 plus 3, 2 claws, and you can see where they do that formula. 1d6 for the claws and 1d10 for the bite. Those are all multiplied by 4 with the Gargantuan Troll. And then they regenerate at the rate of 3 hit points per round. And notice here, there's something else that's a little bit different about the regeneration of a troll. The troll's wounds heal at 3 points per round, and even severed limbs will crawl back to the body and rejoin. The head and the claws will continue to fight as long as the creature has 1 hit point or more. And the troll cannot regenerate damage from fire or acid. When attacked by these methods, the morale score drops. Again, we don't use morale, but as a DM, you can kind of use an idea: how smart is your monster, and is it going to run away if it gets badly hurt, or is it going to keep fighting to the death? All right, so then we move on to 1st edition, or AD&D. And the troll, again, has an armor class of 4, 6+6 hit dice, very similar. And then 1d4 plus 4 damage for each of the claws, and 2d6 damage for the bite. And the regeneration is, again, 3 hit points per round. And regeneration includes rebonding of severed members, and the loathsome members of a troll have the ability to fight on even if severed from the body. A hand can claw or strangle, the head can bite, etc., etc. And total dismemberment will not slay a troll, for its parts will slither and scuttle together, rejoin, and a troll will rise whole, ready to continue the combat. And to kill a troll, you have to burn it or immerse it in acid. Any separate pieces being treated in the same fashion, or they will create a whole new troll in 3 to 18 rounds. So that's the thing to remember about regeneration of trolls. You don't have, if you don't kill or burn every part of it, you'll eventually have one or more trolls to deal with. If those parts can't come back together and create a whole troll again, those parts will eventually begin to grow until each one creates a whole new troll. So you could just wind up making the problem worse if you don't use acid or fire to completely deal with the troll creature. Now, also from first edition, we have the first edition Fiend Folio, which was put out by the TSR UK folks. And in this one, we have several different variants of the troll. We have the Giant Troll. So it's an 8 hit dice monster instead of 6+6 hit dice. It's a little bit taller at 10 feet tall. Then you have the Giant 2-headed Troll, which is a 10 hit dice monster, and it gets 4 attacks, because not only can it attack with its arms, but it can bite with both heads. Again, it's a little bit taller, and it regenerates and everything. Now, there is an Ice Troll, and this is the first time we start to see, trolls being in slightly different variants based on their setting. So we have a 2-hit dice monster, so it's a smaller monster and not quite as tough. Armor class of 8, which means it's a little bit easier to hit. It still has the regeneration, and it does not bite. It uses its claws, and it's got some special defenses. First of all, it's impervious to cold, so cold damage doesn't do anything to it. And you have to have a magic weapon to hit it. If you don't have a magic weapon, you can't deal any damage to it. And then it also has the regeneration. And then there's this really weird thing called the Spirit Troll. Now, the Spirit Troll has an armor class of 2, so it's a little tougher. 5+5 hit dice. It has the 3 attacks, the two claws, 1d3 each, and the bite of 1d6. It will drain your strength points. It's invulnerable to cold. It regenerates. You need magical weapons to hit it, and it can go invisible. So this is the perverted. This creature is a product of perverted magical interbreeding of trolls and invisible stalkers. Although the secret of its creation is believed to be lost, and only 30 or so of these creatures are known to exist. It's invisible, so characters able to see invisible will observe it similar to a troll, slightly shorter and with diffused features. Fire will inflict full damage, but it's invulnerable to cold. It regenerates at the same rate as a normal troll. Attacks with the fangs and 2 sharp claws. It can attack 3 different monsters, And then the damage inflicted by the creature's claws is taken not only from the hit points, but also from the strength points. Any strength points lost are recovered in 20 to 80 minutes. And if character strength is reduced to 0, he dies, and if reduced to 1 or 2 points, he will be rendered comatose, only recovering if sufficient points are recovered to raise his strength to 3 or more. So that is another unusual variation on the troll, the Spirit Troll. Then there's also in the Monster Manual 2 from AD&D, we have the Scrag, or the Marine Troll. And there's two different variations. There is the Freshwater Marine Troll and the Saltwater Marine Troll. Their armor class is 3 for the Freshwater, 2 for the Saltwater. The Saltwater version is a little bit tougher. The damage, however, for the Freshwater Trolls, its claws are deal a little bit more damage, but the bite of the Saltwater deals more damage. And then here's a picture of the Marine Troll. And so that guy just looks a little lovely. He looks kind of like a troll crossed with a fish head. And we're going to see as we get into later editions, especially 5th edition, they have loved to play around with the different troll variations. And it kind of goes back to that theme of how the troll, because it regenerates, it's susceptible to mutations. A lot of the variations mean it takes on qualities similar to other creatures in its environment. So a troll that primarily lives in the ocean and feeds on fish, it's not surprising that that troll would eventually become to where its head would be more fish-like and its body might be covered with scales and things of that nature, because of all of the mutations that happen because of this regeneration that's constantly going on every time it gets injured. Right, now we go to 2nd edition, and we see there's a ton of different variants. Now, we're not going to go through all of the variants because a lot of them are things like we've seen before, but I do want to draw your attention to the different hit dice and some of the different features, different armor class of these trolls. So we have the normal troll, 6+6 hit dice. That's been pretty similar since the beginning of the game. Then the 2-headed troll is 10 hit dice. Freshwater is 5+5. Saltwater 6+12. Desert, oh, that's a new type, a desert troll, 7+7. The spectral troll is 8+8, which is that you can think of that as the spirit troll. The giant troll is an 8-hit dice monster, and the ice troll is a 2-hit dice monster. And then one of the very interesting things about trolls that we learn from the 2nd edition Monstrous Manual is that we learn that trolls have a matriarchal society. So trolls live in small packs of 3 to 12 trolls led by a dominant female who acts as a shaman or chieftain. She casts priest spells at 7th level. Spheres typically include charm, divination, sun, and weather. So now, notice what they do here. It's like, the trolls normally don't have spellcast. Oh, not unless you're the shaman. Then you're like, you cast spells like a 7th level priest would. So, if you're going to make one of these up, you can go ahead and do that. Once again, this is something that is not in 5th edition. So, if you want to have part of your arc, one of the arcs of your story being like going in and fighting a den full of trolls or a tribe of trolls or something like that, go ahead and make one of them a spellcaster and set them up, to fit your own environment. You could say maybe give it druidic spells, maybe give it clerical spells, whatever. But go ahead and feel free to throw that in as something in your game. Now that's going to obviously make the troll more challenging, so you're going to be careful about balancing it against your party's level. But this means that you're now able to start spreading out and using trolls at more points during the arc of your campaign than just in the narrow window where the garden variety of troll would allow you to place it. So that was the main thing I wanted to look at here in 2nd edition, or in the 2nd edition Monsters Manual, is about the troll, or is about the chieftain and being a matriarchal society. Now here we see our 2nd edition troll, but they also give us in this the 2nd edition variation of the aquatic troll. And you see how he's kind of, his hair looks all kind of kelpy, and he's got kind of a little different shaped head to him, and then he's got all these webbing on his feet and his hands. So he is a bit of a different kind of critter there than the average troll. They put out several different source book editions in 2nd edition, and we just have in the Monsters Compendium 01 expansion, they just reprinted several of the trolls, the normal troll, two-headed, freshwater, and saltwater. And then in 3rd edition, we get, in the Monster Manual, we get 2 different variations of the troll. We get the normal troll, and then we get the troll hunter, which is got levels like a 6th level ranger. So the normal troll has an armor class of 16. The troll hunter has an armor class of 21. Now, also it's important to remember that in 3rd edition, that's when they made the switch from the old way of doing armor class, where the lower the armor class, the harder it was to hit. In the new version, the higher the armor class, the harder it is to hit. So if you've only been playing the later editions, that's why those armor class numbers seem to be very different between the old editions and the new editions. So the regeneration here is something to be. Let's see, how many hit points does it regenerate in 3rd edition? They had a regeneration. Fire and acid deal normal damage to a troll. Okay, so special qualities, regeneration. Okay, regeneration 5. So it regenerates 5 hit points per round in 3rd edition. That has changed in 4th and 5th edition. Scrag is once again the aquatic subtype of trolls, and then the troll hunter. Some trolls, more cunning than most, are not satisfied with merely eating civilized beings, but trained to hunt them relentlessly. These troll hunters are fearsome rangers who focus on slaying and devouring humanoid prey. They make full use of their scent ability to track favored enemies, and generally prefer to hunt in darkness, and uses its limited repertoire of spells to protect itself from damaging forms of energy and to immobilize enemies. So the typical ranger spells prepared are resist energy and entangle. Right. Then when we get to the Monster Manual 3 in 3rd edition, oh hey, JK Grammar, Thank you for the raid. Thank you guys for stopping by. We're right in the middle of Monster Monday, and we're just going through the history of trolls in D&D. So I hope you guys enjoy this. We're looking at 3rd edition trolls right now, and coming out of the Monster Manual 3, this is where we begin to see some of the really cool variations that they started playing around with in 3rd edition. So we have the Cave Troll, which the Cave Troll has as the right. So where's its armor class? Armor class is 21, same as the normal. A little bit more hit dice, so up to 112 hit points, and then it's got a longer reach, so it's got a 10-foot reach as opposed to a 5-foot reach. And you see this guy, he's kind of all hunched over, but he's got these long arms that he can reach out and grab things with. It's got the improved grab, so hit with its bite attack and then attempt to start a grapple as a free action without provoking attacks of opportunity. It can pounce on a foe and make a full attack, including 2 rakes. The rake attack is used with the hind legs, including adjustment for power attack feat. And then the rend, if a cave troll hits with both the claw attacks, it latches onto the opponent's body and tears the flesh. And that automatically deals an additional 4d6 plus 13 points of damage. And cave trolls get the +4 racial bonus on survival checks when tracking by scent. And then also it gives you, in this edition of the game, they gave you some ideas of how you might use cave trolls in different settings, like Eberron and Faerun and some of the other things. Then we get a really interesting version. We get a Crystalline Troll. So now this is, again, something that you can begin to think of as, all right, how might I throw a homebrew variation of a troll and make it something really different? Well, maybe you're adventuring on the elemental plane of Earth, and so you want to have more kind of rock monster things. Well, why not have one of those rock monsters be a troll? And you also, when you start playing around with these variations, you play around with the different kinds of damage that will prevent its regeneration. So for a Crystalline Troll, sonic damage, translated into 5th edition terms, that would be thunder damage, will prevent the troll from regenerating. Fire won't prevent it from regenerating. Acid won't prevent it from regenerating. But thunder damage will. So if you throw one of these things at your party, and your party is like, oh, it looks like a troll, it's regenerating like a troll, let's try to burn it. Yeah, it's still regenerating. Gotta try something else. And then, gives them a bit of a different challenge. As we see, the 105 hit points, so not quite as many as the Cave Troll. 18 for the armor class, so a little bit easier to hit. And then here's an image of the Crystalline Troll. And once again, we get information about them in various different settings. Then we have the Forest Troll. And Forest Trolls, well, they're kind of more like a natural animal than a humanoid. They don't have nearly as many hit points, and they've got the AC of 18, so they're a little bit easier to hit. They're smaller and they're smarter than other trolls, and they can be very dangerous because while they lack the size and prodigious strength, their intelligence makes them capable of sophisticated tactics that other trolls cannot match. And they're crafty and organized hunters, prefer to strike from ambush. They'll throw the javelins from safety of the trees and then drop down onto their weakened prey. And then they can deal poison damage. They create their own special poisons made from their saliva to coat their javelins and claws. And they have a +8 bonus to climb checks. And then once again, notes on where you'd find trolls in Eberron and in Faerun. And then you finally get like the big beefy boy, the Mountain Troll. So we had the Cave Troll, well now we come to the Mountain Troll. This guy has 217 hit points, so quite a bit more hit points. Armor class of 22, so a little bit harder to hit. And he attacks with weapons. So he attacks with his big great club and his bite. And he has a reach of 15 feet instead of 10 feet. So you have to be a little bit further away from him to avoid being attacked by him. And once again, nice picture of this big old beefy troll. Big old brute of a guy, just sort of walking almost like a gorilla, because of his arms are so long that he can sort of walk around on all fours as well as walking upright. He has some special abilities. He has this knockdown ability that when he hits with a weapon or claw attack, he can attempt to trip the opponent as a free action. Stability, so they have a +4 bonus on ability checks made to resist being bull rushed or tripped. And then they can blend in with their mountain surroundings with a +8 racial bonus on hide checks when they are in the mountains. And then last but not least, we have War Trolls. So War Trolls have 162 hit points. They have an armor class of 31. So these guys are really, really, really hard to hit. The best trolls are the ones from the movie Ernest Scared Stupid. Yeah, I'm not sure we'll find any of those in D&D, but all right. So the War Trolls, they have a reach of 10 feet, armor class of 31. Like I said, they attack with a great sword, +23 attack bonus, and a composite longbow. They get to attack. They get to attack 3 times with their great sword, and they bite. Or they use their claws in their bite, or they use their composite longbow, which they can shoot 3 times as well. They have the dazing blow attack. The force of the War Troll's blow can be overwhelming. It hits with a weapon or claw attack. The opponent must make a DC 25 Fortitude save or be dazed for 1 round. And then regeneration. Unlike their lesser cousins, acid but not fire deals normal damage. If a War Troll loses a limb or body part, the lost portion regrows in 2d4 minutes. So that means that if you hit it with fire, it will still regenerate on that 5 hit point per round scale, just like the other trolls do. But if you hit it with acid, that will prevent it from regenerating. Now, in other variants of trolls, obviously both acid and fire will prevent the regeneration. And then we kind of take a left turn and we go into 4th edition. And 4th edition, all of the other editions, Basic D&D, 1st edition, 2nd edition, 3rd edition, you can sort of see how they kind of build on each other, and there's a lot of similarities. They change a couple of the paradigms along the way. But then 4th edition came along, and just like was a completely different game off in left field somewhere. So while the monsters here are interesting and can provide inspiration for things that you may want to use in your 5th edition game, you do always have to do quite a bit of work when you're going to try to reskin something from 4th edition to be balanced for a 5th edition game. And So what we learn about the trolls, there are several different kinds of trolls. The garden variety of troll is a level 9 brute, has 100 hit points, regenerates 10 points per round unless it takes acid or fire damage. Armor class 20, speed of 8, so 40 feet per round. It gets a claw attack and a frenzied strike attack. And the healing, notice that if the troll is reduced to 0 hit points by an attack that does not deal acid or fire damage, it rises on its next turn with 10 hit points. That's that one similarity, that one through line all the way back to the beginning of the game. If you don't destroy it with fire or acid, you can cut it into as many little pieces as you want, but it's still going to come back together and rise back up as a troll. So if you want to get rid of the troll, you have to deal the right kind of damage to really get rid of it. Okay. Yes, exactly, Cliffy. Trolls are one of those creatures that change drastically between fantasy universes. Yeah, if you think about trolls in different IPs, and even trolls in different sort of pop culture things, like there was a fad like in the 1980s where you go to like all the malls and you get like these little trolls that were these little hairy guys that would sit on your bookshelf or whatever, and they were all kind of like cute and cuddly sorts of things. Definitely not the D&D type of troll. So then we have the War Troll in 4th edition, which is a level 14 soldiers. Once again, 110 hit points, 55 bloodied value, armor class of 30, attacks with a great sword or claw or longbow, has this sweeping strike, which requires the greatsword weapon, blood pursuit, and when a bloodied enemy within 2 squares of the war troll moves or shifts, it can shift one square closer to the enemy. Threatening reach, it can make opportunity attacks against all enemies within 10 feet. And then again, it regenerates, but this War Troll regenerates at a rate of 15 points per round, and not regeneration of 10. But that's interesting. If it's reduced to 0, then it's not acid or fire. It comes back with 15 hit points instead of 10. Okay, all right. So I guess it just that initial kip back up will be at 15. And then we have the Fell Troll, level 20 elite brute, 360 hit points, regeneration of 15, armor class of 32. The reach on these is 15 feet, so it has the claw attack, the backhanded slam, and it can knock the enemy 20 feet and knock them prone. Blood Frenzy gains a +1 attack bonus and +2 bonus to damage attacks against bloodied enemies. Bloodied is just a mechanic from 4th edition. It means that somebody is at half hit points or below. And then the initial kip up, if they go to 0, is up to 20 hit points, but the regeneration rate is 15 points per round. And then when they also released the Monster Manual 2 in 4th edition, and yeah, trolls in World of Warcraft have regenerating abilities. It might be where the idea comes from, because trolls in D&D have had regeneration from day one. So exactly right. That could be where they got the idea in World of Warcraft from, or one. I would say D&D maybe is not the only source, but one of the sources that they used for their trolls. Then we get the Ice Troll. And the Ice Troll, that's similar to what we've seen in other editions, but now notice they've given us a new wrinkle. The emanating cold. So every enemy that starts to turn in the aura of the ice troll, which is within 5 feet of the ice troll, is slowed until the start of its next turn. So they have 109 hit points, regeneration rate of 10, armor class 26. They are vulnerable to acid and fire. The regeneration doesn't function until the end of next turn. Reach is 10 feet. The frenzied strike makes a maul attack, and then at the beginning of its turn after it's knocked down, it pops back up with 10 points, and just like the normal troll does. And so that's a level 10 soldier. And then the Bladerager Troll has 151 hit points, regeneration 10, armor class 24. It's got claw with a reach of 10 feet and a Bladerager Rend. So a reach of 10 feet, plus 15 attack bonus, 6 damage, and 5 ongoing damage. So that means that until you save out of it, you keep losing 5 hit points per round, even if it doesn't hit you again. So then it has a death burst. When it drops to 0 hit points, it explodes in a burst of shrapnel. Close burst 2, so within 10 feet, plus 13 versus reflex. So that means you gotta make a reflex save, or I guess reflex was an armor, a type of armor class or a type of defense in 4th edition, and it would deal 2d6 plus 5 damage. And then you have the troll Vinespeakers, who are kind of like the druids of the troll world. They call upon ancient magic of wild lands. Now these guys are level 14 controllers, 142 hit points, armor class 28, regeneration 10. They have the claw, the frenzied strike, but now they have some other attacks. They have a ray of thorns. So it's a ranged attack out to 10, and it deals 2d8 plus 6 damage with plus 18 to hit. Chant of Power, close burst 5, so within 25 feet. It targets allies, and all the allies within 25 feet gain 10 temporary hit points and add plus 4 bonus to damage rolls while it has those temporary hit points. Then there's a Thorny Burst, so within you target anywhere within 50 feet and a 5-foot radius from that target, plus 18 versus reflex, 1d10 plus 6 damage, and the target is immobilized until they save out of it. Burst creates a zone of thorns and brambles that lasts until the end of the encounter. It's difficult terrain, and each creature that enters takes 1d8 damage. And then, of course, it has the 10 hit point regeneration, and if it's ever knocked to 0, it will come back with 10 hit points. So that's kind of a cool little way of seeing a druid-like troll that they gave us in 4th edition. All right, now, in 5th edition, the Monster Manual, the Monster Manual was just very boring in 5th edition. And all it gave us is a troll. Just the normal troll. And it did give us a little bit of a variant. Some loathsome limbs. Whenever the troll takes at least 15 slashing damage at one time, you roll a d20 to determine what else happens to it. On a 1d10, nothing happens. 11 to 14, one leg is severed, if it has any legs left. 15 to 18, one arm is severed if it has any arms left. 19 to 20, troll is decapitated, but the troll dies only if it can't regenerate. If it dies, so does the severed head. So if it finishes a short or long rest without reattaching a severed limb or head, the part regrows. At that point, the severed part dies. Until then, the severed part acts on the troll's initiative and has its own action and movement. And then we get stats for that. So a severed leg is unable to attack and has a speed of 5 feet. Severed arm has a speed of 5 feet and can make 1 claw attack with disadvantage unless the troll can see the arm and its target. If the head is severed, it loses a bite attack and the body is blinded until the head can see it. Severed has a speed of 0 and a troll's keen smell trait. Can make a bite attack but only against a target in its space. And troll's speed is halved if it's missing a leg. It loses both legs, it falls prone, has both arms, it can crawl. With only one arm, it can still crawl, but the crawl speed is halved. Alright, and in D&D, the Garden variety of Troll is Armor Class 15, 84 hit points. Multi-attack makes 3 attacks, 1 with the bite and 2 with the claws. Those attacks are all at +7 to hit. And the bite is 1d6 plus 4 damage. The claws are 2d6 plus 4. So the claws actually deal more damage, even though it gets more of those. A lot of times when you'll see monsters that have 2 claws and 1 bite, the claws will do less damage and the bite will do more. But in the troll, it's reversed. It still gets the 2 claws, but those actually are the more damaging attacks. And then this is just the standard entry for the same troll. But thank goodness, as they've developed a whole bunch of campaigns and additional source books for us in 5th edition, they have started to give us a bunch of new variations on the troll, including the Venom Troll. Okay, so the Venom Troll, Armor Class 15, 94 hit points. Also, I should point out, 5th edition, for those of you who are in there, every monster has a challenge rating. And that basically tells you what, it helps you determine as a DM what level the monster is appropriate to fight. So the normal troll has a CR of 5. The Venom Troll has a CR of 7. Well, why is that? Same armor class, a little bit more hit points, but it has a few different kinds of attacks. Yes, he does look lovely, doesn't he, Cliffy? Alright, he has a poison splash attack. When he takes damage of any kind except psychic, each creature within 5 feet takes 2d8 poison damage. So it regenerates 10 hit points per round unless he takes acid or fire damage. As a multi-attack, he makes 3 attacks, 1 with the bite and 2 with the claws. Bite is +7 for 1d6 plus 4. Claws are +7 at 2d6 plus 4. So again, the similar damage, except both the bite and the claws also deliver 1d8 poison damage, and the creature remains poisoned until the start of the troll's next turn. That's on the bite. That poison condition does not happen from the claws. But notice this. There is a venom spray. The venom spray recharges on a roll of 6, so that means you roll a 6-sided die, and if it comes up as a 6, that ability recharges. So the troll slices itself with its claw, which releases a spray of poison in a 15-foot cube. The troll takes 2d6 slashing damage from this, and that damage can't be reduced. And each creature in the area needs to make a DC 16 con save. On a failed save, they take 4d8 poison damage, and they have the poison condition for 1 minute. On a successful save, the creature takes half the damage and is not poisoned. So now we're starting to see, ooh, okay, so this is something, hey, that kind of looks like a troll, but man, that troll, he looked ugly. He been into something. Man, he got all these boils and everything. He comes up and he starts attacking, and then he just slices across himself and big old poison spray out all over you. Oh, thanks, DM. We really, really like that. And the DM just like, yeah, I knew you would. Okay, so that's the Venom Troll. Then we get the Ice Troll. And by the way, the Venom Troll, that comes out of Mordenkainen's Tome of Foes. where they gave us lots of new variations on existing monsters. The Ice Troll actually comes out of one of the adventures, which is the Icewind Dale Rime of the Frost Maiden. Ice Troll has an armor class of 16, 115 hit points, so a little bit tougher, a little bit more hit points, and a challenge rating of 8. Now, it's got this cold aura. You remember, that's very much like the Ice Troll from 4th edition. While it's alive, it generates an aura of bitter cold that fills an area within 10 feet. At the start of the troll's turn, all non-magical flames in the aura are extinguished, and any creature that starts its turn within 10 feet takes 3d6 cold damage. It regenerates at 10 hit points per round, and that if it takes acid or fire damage, that regeneration does not happen. And again, the bite and the claw deal the same physical damage as the normal troll, but the bite deals 2d8 cold damage, and the claws deal 2d8 cold damage. But if the target takes any of the cold damage from the claws, must succeed on a DC 15 con save or have disadvantage on its attack rolls until the end of its next turn. So now this is where you're starting to see little wrinkles where abilities of the troll can mess with the party's ability to do something. So this is kind of another new way of throwing something at your party that's a little bit tougher than the normal troll and presents a slightly different challenge than what they're normally expecting if they're fighting a troll. Now here's one of, if you thought the Venom Troll was beautiful, you should check out this guy, the Dire Troll. Okay, just like Dire Wolf is bigger, Dire Troll is bigger. Armor class 15, 172 hit points. This guy is a CR 13 monster. So he's got keen senses, regenerates 10 hit points per round. And notice here, if the troll takes acid or fire damage, it regains only 5 hit points at the start of its next turn. The troll dies only if it's hit by an attack that deals 10 or more acid or fire damage while the troll has 0 hit points. So this is even worse than that stupid zombie feature where every time you knock a zombie to 0, you got to roll a die and see if the zombie pops back up with 1 hit point. This guy, you got to get him to 0, and then after he's at 0, before his turn comes around, you got to apply at least 10 acid or fire damage to make sure he stays dead. Now, multi-attack, he makes 5 attacks, 1 with his bite and 4 with his claws. And the bite and the claws are significantly tougher here. The bite is plus 11 to hit and deals 1d8 plus 6 piercing damage and 1d10 poison damage. And then the claws are also, and remember there's 4 of those claws, plus 11 to hit and deal 3d6 plus 6 damage. And then it gets an ability called the Whirlwind of Claws, which recharges on a 5 or 6. Every creature within 10 feet of the troll makes a DC 19 dex save, or it takes 8d10 slashing damage on a failed save, or half as much damage on a successful one. So this is kind of the Tasmanian devil as a troll. And the lore behind these guys is that these are trolls who are cannibals, and they eat other trolls. And because of the regeneration, that means that as they eat other trolls, the regeneration of those trolls is such that they will start to grow additional heads, they'll grow additional arms, they'll have additional eyes pop out at different places all over their bodies, different, additional mouths can show up on them. Additional fingers can, grow out of, the middle of their leg or the middle of their arm or something like that. So they are really grotesque and really fearsome creatures. And plus, CR5 for the normal troll, CR13. This is intended to be thrown against a significantly tougher party than would face a normal troll. And then we have the Spirit Troll. Now, we saw the Spirit Troll way back in one of the older editions, but now we're coming back, and we're seeing it again in 5th edition. He's got armor class of 17, a challenge rating of 11, 97 hit points, but now the interesting thing about this guy is he's got incorporeal movement. He can move through other creatures and objects as if they were difficult terrain, and he takes 1d10 force damage if it ends its turn inside an object. It regenerates 10 hit points at the start of each of its turn. But notice, it's not fire and acid that stop its regeneration on this guy. It's psychic and force damage that stop the regeneration. So, multi-attack, it makes 3 attacks, 1 with a bite and 2 with the claws, plus 7 on the bite, a hit for 3d10 plus 3 psychic damage, and the target must succeed on a wisdom saving throw or be stunned for 1 minute, and it can try to save out of that stunned condition at the end of every turn. Then the claws are 2d10 plus 3 psychic damage. So this is the Spirit Troll is the result of a troll that's been blasted with psychic energy. So it can take non-physical form when it regenerates, and if its psyche survives, but the body of a Spirit Troll is insubstantial as shadow. And the troll might be unaware of the transition. It still moves and attacks with teeth and claws that it always did, but now it strikes at its victim's mind. And then we have the Rot Troll. Ugh. Okay, so the Rot Troll. Yes, the Spirit Trolls are all over social media. Yes, they really are. Hey, Oyo, good to see you. Rot Troll has an armor class of 16, 138 hit points, CR of 9, and a Rot Troll happens when you infuse a troll with waves of necrotic energy as it regenerates. So it develops a symbiotic relationship with that deathly power. And it's got rancid degeneration. So at the end of each of the troll's turns, every creature within 5 feet takes 2d10 necrotic damage, unless the troll has taken acid or fire damage since the end of its last turn. And notice this particular troll doesn't necessarily regenerate. And it says something in the lore. Eventually a Rot Troll becomes unable to regenerate, though it still heals normally. Creature courses with necrotic energy that flows out of its withered form. Simply standing near it exposes other creatures to those lethal emanations. The bite is plus 8, deals the normal physical damage, 1d6 plus 4 piercing, plus 3d10 necrotic damage. And the claws, once again, deal the same 2d6 plus 4 slashing or physical damage, and then another 1d10 necrotic damage. So the Rot Troll is really kind of a nasty, nasty critter, along with the Venom Troll. And the Venom Troll, we talked about that one before. That one is ravaged by massive doses of poison, so it might mutate into a Venom Troll. However, another thing to think about with the Venom Troll is, like, let's say it's a troll that wandered into an area where there was a bunch of giant spiders or a bunch of giant snakes or something like that, and it just started using them as a food source. Well, it's ingested all of this poison, and it's been affected by the poison of the bites, but of course, because it regenerates, it wasn't killed. But over time, as it's gotten so much of that poison in its system, and as it's regenerated so much from that poison just begins to transform the troll into a source of venom itself. All right, so then we get into the two-headed troll, which is a challenge rating of 5. It's pretty much just like a normal troll, except it gets 4 attacks. It's weird the way they say it. They say the troll makes 3 attacks, 1 with its bite, 2 with its claws. It can then make a second bite attack as a bonus action. So I guess what it's doing is it's taking that second bite and throwing it in as a bonus action. But it essentially gets 4 attacks per round instead of 3. So it's still classified as a CR5 monster, but you're getting extra attacks out of it that you normally don't get with the garden variety of troll. And then we have the four-arm troll, and this four-arm troll comes to us out of the Horde of the Dragon Queen adventure. The four-arm troll is once again a CR6, but it has the same armor class and hit points as the normal troll, but obviously, because it has 4 arms, it makes 5 attacks every round. 1 with the bite and 4 with the claws. And if 2 or more claws hit the same target, it will rend the target, dealing an extra 2d6 slashing damage to it. So, trolls, obviously, they can attack as many targets as they want to that are within range. But if 2 of those claws hit the same target, the DM gets to allow it to have that rending, that 2d6. And now here's a 5-arm troll, and the 5-arm troll comes from Waterdeep Dungeon of the Mad Mage. And again, it's got the same armor class and hit points as a normal troll, but it's considered an armor class 8 because now it makes 6 attacks, 1 with a bite and 5 with the claws. But the weird thing is with this one, it doesn't give this one the same thing as the rending that the four-arm troll had. I think that if the four-arm troll gets to rend a target, if it hits it with 2 claws, I would say as a DM that a 5-arm troll or any troll that has more than 4 arms is going to get that same rending thing, just to make that a little bit more challenging for the players. Because, most players are going to have a mix of melee and ranged attacks. And if they figure out, we get too close to that thing, then they're going to figure out, just put the person with the highest AC up there. So hopefully it doesn't get hit twice. And then everybody else stand back and pepper it with your spells or your ranged attacks or whatnot, so that you can stay out of the reach of those nasty, nasty, nasty attacks. All right, so now we are going to go back to looking at the rest of our information on trolls. Okay, here's our lovely Venom Troll that we were talking about from 5th edition. And if you're going to build an encounter for trolls, I usually like to work with the base monster. But with trolls, we need to keep in mind that the variations in 5e can range all the way from CR5 up to CR13. So if we're looking at the CR5 monster, to create a hard encounter for a party of 5 PCs, if the party is level 3, that's going to be a hard encounter to fight 1 troll. For 5 PCs at level 3, hard encounter to fight 1 troll. If the party is level 4, it's going to be a medium encounter. Now, if you want to bump that up and make it a hard encounter, you can also throw a half ogre into the encounter to fight alongside the troll, and that will make it a hard encounter. Then if the party is level 5, it becomes an easy encounter, and then you can add 2 ogres to the encounter to turn it into a hard encounter. And then beyond level 5, a single troll is just not going to be that much of a challenge for a party. You would have to, like, have the party wander into a whole nest of trolls, or have trolls mixed in with other kinds of creatures in order for it to be a significant challenge for the group. All right, so here again is a close-up of our lovely Dire Troll out of 5th edition, and you can see all, because of his cannibalism, all the different troll parts that are sort of growing out of him all over the place. If you are a player and you run into a troll, use fire. And the reason I say use fire is because fire is usually more readily available to adventuring parties than is acid, but if you have acid, that'll work. Trolls regenerate hit points every round unless they take fire or acid damage. If you don't burn them with fire or acid, it'll be impossible to kill them. Even if they fall to 0 hit points, if they've not been burned with fire or acid, they will regenerate on their next turn in combat in the initiative order. And also watch for those claws. While the bite of a troll is fierce enough, the claw attacks of these monsters actually deal more damage. The 5th arm from the 5-arm troll, that is, I want to say in Dungeon of the Mad Mage, I want to say that's like really, really weird, like it's growing out of the middle of its back or something. And so it can attack things that are behind it. So, it's kind of got the 2 sets of arms on its shoulders and then right below its shoulders, and then it's got a 5th arm just like sticks out of its back. It's very, very strange, very weird monster. That's why it shows up in Dungeon of the Mad Mage. That's a really totally weird adventure. Anyway, a fun dungeon crawl in the true dungeon crawl sense of the word. A full campaign that's a dungeon crawl. All right, so if you're behind the DM screen and you want to use trolls, the garden variety of troll makes a great test for a low-level party, especially one that doesn't have much magic or extra resources with them. So once they realize that the monsters are regenerating hit points, it's fun to sit back as a DM and see how creative they can be to discover what's going to stop that regeneration and how they can turn to the environment of the battle or use their own adventuring gear to try to stop the trolls from regaining strength every round. If you want to use trolls against a higher level party, consider using one of the variants in 5e, or perhaps mine some of those subtypes we talked about from older editions. So you can kind of help out the players without really helping them out by where they encounter a troll. Like if they get ambushed by a troll in their camp, well, maybe the campfire has burned down to embers, but there's still embers there. And if they realize, oh crap, this is a troll, then somebody can take their turn, and instead of attacking, they can maybe say, well, I'm gonna like throw some fresh wood on the fire and try to bank up the fire and get some flames going. Okay, well, now we've got some flames. Now we can start using those flames against the troll. Or, oh, hey, yeah, I remember I have some flasks of oil for my lantern. So we're gonna, see about putting oil on the blade of my sword and then lighting it on fire and start hitting it with the sword so that it deals both fire and physical damage, or fire and slashing damage. Okay, so where would you place trolls in a campaign? So I've tried to look at this for the different kinds of trolls in 5e and think about different ways you might use it. So normal trolls, a CR5, they can be found on their own as scavenging bands, or perhaps they're encountered in the company of ogres and hill giants. As raiders against a defenseless village, trolls will be a terrifying test for a lower level party and will turn them into instant local heroes to the survivors. Other variants, you have some more interesting uses. So those Venom Trolls, CR7, they have absorbed so much poison that now it emerges from them with every wound they take. Perhaps such a monster will be found in an area once inhabited by giant spiders or poisonous snakes that the troll has ingested. The monsters spray nearby creatures with poison every time they're injured, and they can do that thing where they rake their claws to open a wound on themselves and fill a whole area with a poison spray. Then you have the Ice Trolls, CR8. Those are found up in Arctic regions, and they'll fill a similar role in the ecosystem as normal trolls in more temperate climates. So the Ice Troll extinguishes all non-magical flames nearby, and it radiates cold damage in an aura around it. So that's another thing for the party to have to deal with. Okay, if I get too close to this thing, I'm going to be taking cold damage every round. Whoops. Okay, then we have the Dire Trolls. Those are trolls that have fed on their own kind. This horrifying monster might be found deep in a dungeon where the food supply is run low, and only other regenerating creatures can provide sustenance. So Dire Trolls can use their multiple claws to horribly wound everything within 10 feet of them. Then continuing on to look at the Spirit Trolls. Those are trolls that have been blasted with psychic energy and given a chance to become insubstantial and invisible. And instead of fire and acid, psychic and force damage will prevent the Spirit Troll's regeneration effect. The Rot Trolls are infused with necrotic energy. It causes the flesh to rot and fall off, and it radiates an aura of necrotic energy to all creatures adjacent to it. And the Two-Headed Trolls, CR5, just like a normal troll, perhaps it mutated after a decapitation and it's grown a second head, so they get an extra bite attack on every turn in combat. Four-Armed Trolls, CR6, they mutated after losing a limb and grow another pair of arms, get additional claw attacks for every arm, which makes them a little bit tougher. And then Five-Armed Trolls, once again, mutated after losing a limb and grow more arms. And then, like I said here, the additional claw attacks for every arm, while it's not strictly rules as written, it seems logical that these monsters would probably get the same rending attack and rending damage as Four-Armed Trolls do. So you can, as a DM, I think it would be perfectly appropriate to say that, yeah, two of those arms attacked the same person, so now you get that extra rending damage. Alright. Besides, your players aren't ever looking in the monster manual. They don't know what it says the monster can do, so you can do what you want. And they have no recourse. Because they're players, and they take what you give them, and they're happy for it. Okay, reskinning the monster. Now, we talked about the Ice Troll in this edition of the game and in some of the previous editions of the game. And that Ice Troll gives us a good clue for creating reskinned versions of the monster. So if we use the Ice Troll as a base template, we can create trolls from other elemental planes that have different damage auras and damage types that stop regeneration. So Air Trolls. A special ability for the Air Trolls is they can go invisible. They would have maybe an aura of lightning damage around them, and to stop their regeneration, you need to hit them with acid and fire damage, just like a normal troll. But with an Earth Troll, they're going to have a higher AC, just like an Earth Elemental has a higher AC. And the Earth Troll will have an aura of acid damage, because if you look at sort of the elemental energy types, for whatever reason in 5e, they have decided that acid is equated with earth with the Earth, sort of elemental plane of Earth, and a lot of things from the elemental plane of Earth will deal acid damage. And to stop regeneration of those creatures, you would use cold and lightning damage. And then the fire trolls have a higher dexterity. They have an aura of fire damage around them, and to stop their regeneration, you would use cold and acid damage. And then the water trolls, they would be amphibious. So you would give them the aura of cold damage, just like the ice troll, and the regeneration for them would be stopped by fire and lightning damage. So those are just some options, and certainly not an exhaustive list, but some options for how you could reskin trolls and make it something unique to your game, and make it also like a fun little puzzle for the players to figure out, wait a minute, it's acting like a troll. I'm hitting it with fire and acid, but it's still regenerating. I need to try something else. And then if they kind of logically think about the opposition from the various different planes, they might get a clue as to what the opposing damage type from the opposing elemental sphere would be, and that is what will prevent their regeneration every round. Okay, so yeah, it's been a little bit of a longer show, but that's cool because there's so many trolls. Who knew how many different kinds of trolls there were throughout the history of D&D? I hope this has given you guys an idea of what you can do to create something new, interesting, challenging, and hopefully delightful for your players that will at least make a memorable battle, because it's not something that's the garden variety monster manual that they got hit with during your D&D session that day. All right, so I am going to go into the wrap-up, but if you have thought of any questions you want to ask about trolls, go ahead and throw them in the chat, and when I finish the wrap-up, I'll come back and I'll double-check that, and I will give you that information. All right, I have been DM Galabond, and tonight, Monster Monday, we have been talking about trolls. And I normally do 3 live play games that I run every week with players. Sunday afternoon at 2 p.m. Eastern, it's our Planeswalking game from 5e, that's the Walker of Waterdeep, where we cross the lore between Magic the Gathering and D&D 5th edition. Then on Thursday night, we have the Sword Coast Chronicles, where we're telling our own story, but we're telling it by weaving the plot through all of the different published adventures of 5th edition. So right now we're in the storyline of Storm King's Thunder. They've already been in the Tyranny of Dragons. They've been in Princes of the Apocalypse, Out of the Abyss, Curse of Strahd, and now they're in now they're in Storm King's Thunder, and who knows where they will be going next. So you can join us Thursday night at 8 p.m. Eastern for that game. And then on Saturday night, we have our throwback game. We go all the way back to 2nd edition, and we play Saturday Night Greyhawk, where this is kind of a greatest hits game, where we are going through some of the classic modules from old D&D using the 2nd edition rule set. And right now, we are working our way through the original Temple of Elemental Evil. The Princes of the Apocalypse is a game that was very much inspired by the original Temple of Elemental Evil, but because 5th edition takes place in Faerun and not in Greyhawk, a lot of the stuff with the setting is different, and then a lot of the lead-in to the actual getting to the, in air quotes, nodes and temple of elemental evil is different than it is in the original edition. So we are going through the original edition to give people a chance to see how that goes. That's normally on Saturdays at 7:30. You can find our live streams simulcast on Twitch and on YouTube. The archives are all on YouTube, and I'm a little bit behind on, setting up all the archives and getting chapters and all that kind of crap on them. But we're very close to having that all caught up. And there is a new feature that I would like to introduce to everybody this evening, where we are actually going to, or we have actually set up a new Discord server. And this Discord server is a server that is shared by all the players in all the 3 games. But we also have a section for September of this year. We also have a section that we are opening up for the people who come by and watch the sessions. Watch all of the live streams and maybe want to interact with the players or the DM between sessions or on days that we are not streaming. So I am going to go ahead and put that into the chat right now. You click on that link, that will take you over to the new Discord server. And if you want to join us over there, you can. And I check that pretty much every day, and the players are in that fairly regularly. And when they see that new people have posted, they will pop in and say hello and whatnot. All right. So let me check back and see if there are more questions. I don't think we have any, but thank you guys so much for coming and hanging out. And J.K. Grammer, thanks again for the raid, and Cliffy and Oyahusa, thanks so much for being so interactive during the show. That's very nice. All right, what we are going to do, we are going to go ahead and pay that forward. I'm going to move us into the end credits, bring those credits up, and then bring the music up a little bit. And while that is playing, I will go ahead and find somebody else that we can raid that is doing some D's and D's this evening. All right, hey, Bob, thanks so much for the subscription. That's really awesome for September. Everybody say thank you to Bob, and let's go and have a look now. Oh, I need to advance it to the credits page. And then I'm going to go ahead and mute myself while I am looking for a stream. Okay, I'm gonna see if my buddy Dorzafir is online tonight, and we will kick it over to him if he is. Alright, and let's go ahead and try. Let's go ahead and try. Okay, no, it looks like he's just hosting us. Alright, dadgummit. Well, you guys have any ideas on who you'd like us to stream? Let me just go and see who is doing D&D. Normally I have my list of other channels up there, but it's being annoying tonight and none of them are coming up. So let me just see category D&D. Who is doing some D's and D's?
Essentially taking away a woman's right to have an
Alright. Okay, let's go see these Witches of Woodside. So we'll try to raid them, and we'll hope this works out. Okay. Oh. Well, I guess it doesn't let us do that because there's supposed to be a... Okay, here we go. Alright, everybody, off to Fae Friends and Friends. Take care, everybody. Have a great night.